Automatic cars are everywhere these days, and let's be real, they make driving feel almost effortless. They're incredibly easy to operate, ideal for new drivers, and a lifesaver when you're stuck in heavy traffic. But here's the catch, and it's something I witness in my workshop constantly. There's a hidden price behind all that comfort. Using an automatic the wrong way, even with habits that seem completely harmless, can cause serious internal damage. The kind of destruction that drains your bank account fast. The repairs that make your heart sink the moment you hear the estimate. If you want your vehicle to stay dependable, if you want it running strong for years, and most importantly, if you want to protect your hard-earned money, this video is exactly what you need. We're exposing the truth and uncovering 19 things you should never, under any circumstances, do in an automatic car. These are the critical mistakes that most people don't even realize they're making. And I guarantee there's one tip in here, maybe more, that will completely change the way you drive. Skip this video and you might just regret it the very next time your mechanic looks up from his clipboard and hands you that four-figure bill. Let's jump in and look. Before we get to that first mistake, if you want to keep your car out of the repair shop and save thousands of dollars in the long run, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like too. It tells the algorithm that we're saving cars one driver at a time. It costs you nothing, but it helps this channel and your car more than you know. Now, let's get to work. Number 19, driving with 2 feet. Let's start with a common one I see all the time, especially with drivers who learned on something else or think they're being clever. Using 2 feet to drive an automatic car might seem like a shortcut to better control, but I'm telling you, it is a fast track to trouble. Automatic cars are not just built for 1-foot driving. They are ergonomically designed for it. Your right foot pivots between the accelerator and the brake. Your left foot has a dedicated, non-moving platform called a dead pedal. It's there for a reason, to brace yourself during turns and to keep that foot far, far away from the pedals. Using both feet, one for gas and one for brake, can lead to profound confusion, especially in a sudden high-stress stop. Your brain's muscle memory gets completely scrambled. In a panic, you might tense up and press both pedals at once, or worse, just the gas. But the more common everyday problem is this: keeping your left foot hovering over or resting on the brake pedal. Even the lightest pressure you don't even feel is called riding the brake. This adds constant light friction to your brake system. This does two terrible things. First, it wears down your brake pads and rotors at an alarming rate. But second, and far more dangerous, is the heat. Brakes work by converting motion into heat. When you're constantly adding friction, you're constantly generating heat. This heat can glaze the pads, making them hard and slippery like glass, reducing their stopping power. It can warp your brake rotors, giving you that awful shaking feeling in the steering wheel. And in the worst-case scenario, it can boil your brake fluid. When fluid boils, it creates air bubbles. And air, unlike fluid, compresses. The next time you go to hit the brake, your pedal will go straight to the floor and you will not stop. The source video mentions a repair cost of $115 to $270 per axle. Let me be clear, that is a fantasy. That's the price for a simple pad swap. If you've been riding your brakes, you've generated enough heat to warp the rotors and possibly cook the fluid. You're now looking at new pads, new rotors, and a brake fluid flush pushing you easily into the $500 to $800 range. And here's another thing. Using 2 feet can mess with your car's brain. The computer sees the brake pedal and the gas pedal pressed at the same time and can get confused, sometimes cutting power or logging error codes. Now, you'll hear people say, but race car drivers use 2 feet. Yes, they do. It's called left foot braking, and it's a specific technique used to manage weight transfer to keep turbochargers spooled. They are also driving purpose-built machines, and their brake systems are rebuilt after every single race. Your daily commute in a sedan is not a racetrack. Stick to 1 foot, anchor your left foot on that dead pedal, and stay safe. Number 18, hard launches or hard acceleration. We've all been there. You're first at a red light and you get that itch. You want to feel the power, so you slam your foot to the floor the second the light turns green. This is a hard launch, and it's one of the most mechanically abusive things you can do to your car. When you step on the gas, fuel, and air mix, creating a controlled explosion that moves the piston. The faster and more violently this process happens, the more stress it puts on everything. Imagine your engine jumping from a calm 900 RPM idle to over 6,000 RPM in seconds. The source video said 10,000 RPM, but let's be realistic. For a normal car, that's more than a T-fold increase in rotational speed almost instantly. This puts a shock wave of pressure through the entire drivetrain. It's not a smooth application of force. It's a violent jolt. Think of it like this. You can either push someone gently or you can punch them in the back. A hard launch is a punch. So what's getting punched? First, the engine. The connecting rods, the crankshaft, and the bearings all take a massive hit. Second, the torque converter. This is the fluid coupling between your engine and transmission. A hard launch forces it to work at its maximum, generating an incredible amount of heat. This heat is the #1 killer of transmission fluid, and burned fluid is the #1 killer of transmissions. But the real victims are the transmission's internal clutch packs, the gears, and your axles. These components are slammed with a sudden massive torque load. It's like hitting a steel bar with a sledgehammer. Sure, your car is built to handle tough conditions, but constant hard launches wear things out incredibly quickly. Those race cars mentioned in the source, they need frequent, extensive maintenance because they deal with extreme acceleration all the time. Their transmissions are rebuilt after a few races. Yours is designed to last 100,000 miles or more if you treat it right. If you keep flooring it, you will wear out key components faster. You'll tear your engine mounts, which are the rubber blocks that hold your engine in place. You'll destroy your CV joints, the joints on your axles that let your wheels turn, and you'll burn up your transmission's clutch packs. Smooth and steady acceleration is the smart way to drive. It keeps your car running longer, saves you a fortune in the long run, and honestly, it saves you on gas, too. Number 17. Changing gears when the car is still moving. This is a big one. A cardinal sin of automatic driving. Throwing your car into park while it is still moving, even just rolling slightly, puts an insane amount of strain on a tiny piece of metal called the parking pal. This component is a small but crucial lever about the size of your finger. It is designed to do one job, and one job only, to lock your car's transmission after it has come to a complete stop. It is a lock, not a brake. When you shift to park while moving, you are forcing this metal pin to slam against a spinning gear. The grinding or clunking noise you hear, that is the sound of the pal literally bouncing off the gear teeth, chipping away at itself and the gear. Sooner than you'd expect, this bad habit wears down the paw, and in the worst cases, it can snap clean off. If that happens, other parts like the locking pin or the output shaft could also get damaged. And the scariest part, if your park function fails, your car might just start rolling, especially on a slope. I've seen cars roll into garage doors, other cars, or worse, into the street, all because the owner was too impatient to wait one extra second. Similarly, and perhaps even more destructively, you must never switch from drive to reverse or from reverse to drive without coming to a complete and total stop. This is the 3-point turn mistake. You're in a hurry, so you back out of a spot. And while the car is still rolling backward, you slam the shifter into drive. This puts a huge stress on the entire transmission. Think about it. All the internal components, the clutch packs, the bands, the gears are spinning in one direction. You then violently command them to instantly stop and spin in the opposite direction. This is an incredible shock to the system. It burns clutch packs, overheats fluid, and can shatter internal parts. The source video quotes a repair cost of over $3,000. That is not an exaggeration. That is the price of a replacement transmission. And this habit is the fastest way to get there. A few newer cars are smarter and have electronic safeguards that won't let you shift until you've come to a full stop. But if you're in an older car, you are the only safeguard. Stop completely, then shift. Number 16. Unnecessary performance modifications. As the mechanic, this one is tough. I love performance, but I also hate seeing people waste money and destroy perfectly good cars. Unnecessary performance modifications on a standard automatic car can seriously mess with its reliability. They can hurt your fuel efficiency, and critically, they can and will void your manufacturer's warranty. That means when your modified car breaks, and it's more likely to, all those costly repairs are coming straight out of your pocket. Sure, mods can make your car look unique and stand out, but when it comes to automatics, particularly the standard ones in your daily driver, the risks of performance mods often outweigh the rewards. If you're really after better performance, you are almost always better off starting with a car designed for it. A manual transmission, as the source mentioned, gives you more direct control and is generally simpler and more robust, making upgrades more effective. Automatic transmissions, especially modern ones, are incredibly complex. They are a delicate dance of hydraulics, electronics, and mechanical parts, all managed by a sophisticated computer. This computer is programmed to work with the exact power and torque a stock engine produces. When you start bolting on things like aftermarket engine tunes, bigger turbos, or shift kits, you're throwing off that delicate balance. Some drivers stick to cosmetic upgrades like new wheels or a sleek body kit. That's perfectly fine. But performance mods, things like engine tuning or transmission tweaks, can cause serious long-term damage. An engine tune that adds 50 horsepower, that's 50 more horsepower than your transmission was ever designed to handle. The internal clutch packs will start slipping, generating massive heat and burning up. Those shift kits that promise firmer shifts, they achieve that by increasing the hydraulic pressure, which literally slams the gears together. It feels sporty, but it's destroying the bands and clutches with every shift. Automatic cars just aren't built to handle that kind of aftermarket stress. Pushing them too hard could lead to breakdowns and a car that's worth less, not more. Instead of throwing money at mods for a car that's not built for it, save that money for proper maintenance, or better yet, for a car that was built for performance from the factory. Number 15. Revving on a cold engine. This is a habit that physically hurts me to watch. Someone starts their car on a cold morning and immediately revs the engine. Vroom vroom, thinking it'll warm it up faster. This is one of the most damaging things you can do to your engine. When the engine is cold, its metal components, like the pistons and the rings, haven't fully expanded from the heat yet. They don't fit perfectly inside the cylinders. This can cause unnecessary wear, friction, and piston slap, where the piston literally rattles against the cylinder wall. Cold revving also creates abrupt and severe temperature changes, putting immense stress on the engine's tight components. This thermal stress can lead to long-term damage like cracked exhaust manifolds or even warped cylinder heads. But the number one problem is oil. When you start the engine, the oil has been sitting in the oil pan at the bottom. It hasn't had time to circulate properly. And when oil is cold, it's thick like molasses. It doesn't flow well. So it's much harder for the oil pump to push it through the tiny passages to lubricate critical engine parts like the camshafts and bearings at the top of the engine. Revving the engine too soon forces the engine to work at high speeds with inadequate lubrication. This is metal and metal grinding. Most of an engine's entire lifespan happens in the first few seconds after a cold start. To avoid this, always let the engine warm up before driving aggressively. Now, the source video says to let the engine idle for 1 minute on a hot day and 5 minutes on a cold day. I'm going to update that advice. That's old school thinking from the days of carburetors. With a modern fuel-injected engine, the best practice is this. Start the car, wait about 30 seconds to a minute just to get the oil pressure up and the fluid moving. Then drive away gently. The engine will warm up much faster and more efficiently under a light load than it will just sitting there idling. Idling for 5 minutes just wastes fuel and can cause carbon buildup. And here's a pro tip. Don't rely solely on your coolant temperature gauge. The source was spot on here. Oil heats up much slower than coolant. Your dashboard might show the engine is warm after 5 minutes, but your oil might still be cold for another 10 or 15 minutes. So even after the needle is in the middle, take it easy. No hard acceleration until you've been driving for at least 15 minutes. Number 14. Turning off the car before it's in park. This seems like a simple, obvious one, but it's a habit that can have surprisingly serious consequences. Always keep your foot firmly on the brake when shifting into park. Then set the parking brake before letting your foot off the main brake. It's a simple sequence, but it can save you from some serious trouble. Most modern cars, as the source points out, have safety interlocks. They won't even let you turn off the engine unless the transmission is in park. Many won't let you take the key out. This is a built-in dummy-proof feature that saves drivers from embarrassing mistakes. But if your car is older or if that safety feature fails, you are playing with fire. Here's why. First, your car could roll away. If you forget the parking brake and shut the car off in neutral, it can drift in both directions. If you shut it off in drive or reverse, it'll still move in that direction, though more slowly. Either way, that is a disaster waiting to happen. You come back to find your car in the middle of the street or crashed into your garage. And then there's the starting problem. Modern cars are designed not to start if they are left in gear. This is a critical safety feature. You don't want the car to lurch forward into your garage the moment you turn the key. But if these safety switches fail or are bypassed, starting the car in gear can put a huge sudden strain on the drivetrain and transmission, similar to a hard launch. This is a habit that just isn't worth the risk. It takes zero extra effort to do it right. Put on brake, shift to park, set parking brake, then turn off the engine. That is not an exaggeration. That is the price of a replacement transmission, and this habit is the fastest way to get there. A few newer cars are smarter and have electronic safeguards that won't let you shift until you've come to a full stop. But if you're in an older car, you are the only safeguard. Stop completely, then shift. Number 16. Unnecessary performance modifications. As a mechanic, this one is tough. I love performance, but I also hate seeing people waste money and destroy perfectly good cars. Unnecessary performance modifications on a standard automatic car can seriously mess with its reliability. They can hurt your fuel efficiency, and critically, they can and will void your manufacturer's warranty. That means when your modified car breaks, and it's more likely to, all those costly repairs are coming straight out of your pocket. Sure, mods can make your car look unique and stand out. But when it comes to automatics, particularly the standard ones in your daily driver, the risks of performance mods often outweigh the rewards. If you're really after better performance, you are almost always better off starting with a car designed for it. A manual transmission, as the source mentioned, gives you more direct control and is generally simpler and more robust, making upgrades more effective. Automatic transmissions, especially modern ones, are incredibly complex. They are a delicate dance of hydraulics, electronics, and mechanical parts, all managed by a sophisticated computer. This computer is programmed to work with the exact power and torque a stock engine produces. When you start bolting on things like aftermarket engine tunes, bigger turbos, or shift kits, you're throwing off that delicate balance. Some drivers stick to cosmetic upgrades like new wheels or a sleek body kit. That's perfectly fine. But performance mods, things like engine tuning or transmission tweaks, can cause serious long-term damage. An engine tune that adds 50 horsepower, that's 50 more horsepower than your transmission was ever designed to handle. The internal clutch packs will start slipping, generating massive heat and burning up. Those shift kits that promise firmer shifts, they achieve that by increasing the hydraulic pressure, which literally slams the gears together. It feels sporty, but it's destroying the bands and clutches with every shift. Automatic cars just aren't built to handle that kind of aftermarket stress. Pushing them too hard could lead to breakdowns and a car that's worth less, not more. Instead of throwing money at mods for a car that's not built for it, save that money for proper maintenance, or better yet, for a car that was built for performance from the factory. Number 15. Revving on a cold engine. This is a habit that physically hurts me to watch. Someone starts their car on a cold morning and immediately revs the engine. Vroom vroom, thinking it'll warm it up faster. This is one of the most damaging things you can do to your engine. When the engine is cold, its metal components, like the pistons and the rings, haven't fully expanded from the heat yet. They don't fit perfectly inside the cylinders. This can cause unnecessary wear, friction, and piston slap, where the piston literally rattles against the cylinder wall. Cold revving also creates abrupt and severe temperature changes, putting immense stress on the engine's tight components. This thermal stress can lead to long-term damage like cracked exhaust manifolds or even warped cylinder heads. But the number one problem is oil. When you start the engine, the oil has been sitting in the oil pan at the bottom. It hasn't had time to circulate properly. And when oil is cold, it's thick like molasses. It doesn't flow well. So it's much harder for the oil pump to push it through the tiny passages to lubricate critical engine parts like the camshafts and bearings at the top of the engine. Revving the engine too soon forces the engine to work at high speeds with inadequate lubrication. This is metal and metal grinding. Most of an engine's entire lifespan happens in the first few seconds after a cold start. To avoid this, always let the engine warm up before driving aggressively. Now, the source video says to let the engine idle for 1 minute on a hot day and 5 minutes on a cold day. I'm going to update that advice. That's old school thinking from the days of carburetors. With a modern fuel-injected engine, the best practice is this. Start the car, wait about 30 seconds to a minute just to get the oil pressure up and the fluid moving. Then drive away gently. The engine will warm up much faster and more efficiently under a light load than it will just sitting there idling. Idling for 5 minutes just wastes fuel and can cause carbon buildup. And here's a pro tip. Don't rely solely on your coolant temperature gauge. The source was spot on here. Oil heats up much slower than coolant. Your dashboard might show the engine is warm after 5 minutes, but your oil might still be cold for another 10 or 15 minutes. So even after the needle is in the middle, take it easy. No hard acceleration until you've been driving for at least 15 minutes. Number 14, turning off the car before it's in park. This seems like a simple, obvious one, but it's a habit that can have surprisingly serious consequences. Always keep your foot firmly on the brake when shifting into park. Then set the parking brake before letting your foot off the main brake. It's a simple sequence, but it can save you from some serious trouble. Most modern cars, as the source points out, have safety interlocks. They won't even let you turn off the engine unless the transmission is in park. Many won't let you take the key out. This is a built-in dummy-proof feature that saves drivers from embarrassing mistakes. But if your car is older or if that safety feature fails, you are playing with fire. Here's why. First, your car could roll away. If you forget the parking brake and shut the car off in neutral, it can drift in both directions. If you shut it off in drive or reverse, it'll still move in that direction, though more slowly. Either way, that is a disaster waiting to happen. You come back to find your car in the middle of the street or crashed into your garage. And then there's the starting problem. Modern cars are designed not to start if they are left in gear. This is a critical safety feature. You don't want the car to lurch forward into your garage the moment you turn the key. But if these safety switches fail or are bypassed, starting the car in gear can put a huge sudden strain on the drivetrain and transmission, similar to a hard launch. This is a habit that just isn't worth the risk. It takes zero extra effort to do it right. Put on brake, shift to park, set parking brake, then turn off the engine. Number 13, neglecting transmission fluid changes. This is without a doubt one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Your car's automatic transmission is an incredibly complex piece of hydraulic machinery. It needs clean, high-quality fluid to work smoothly, to shift gears, and most importantly, to stay cool. The fluid is its lifeblood. After a while, typically 30,000 to 60,000 meters, that fluid breaks down. It gets contaminated with microscopic bits of metal and clutch material. It gets overheated and burned. When this happens, it loses its ability to lubricate and cool, and it can cause costly, irreversible damage. The source says repair is almost impossible and replacement costs go up to $1,500. Let me update that. 1,500 is a very optimistic number for a used transmission. A new or rebuilt transmission for a modern car. you're looking at $3,000, $5,000, even $8,000. Older cars usually have a transmission dipstick, making it easy to check the fluid level and condition. But many newer cars, in a truly baffling move by manufacturers, have sealed transmissions with no dipstick. They claim the fluid is lifetime. As a mechanic, let me tell you, lifetime fluid is a lie. The lifetime they're talking about is the warranty period. After that, they're happy to sell you a new transmission. Always check your owner's manual. See if your car has a dipstick and how to check it properly. The process usually involves parking on a level surface, warming up the engine, shifting through all the gears, and then checking the level in park with the engine running. But it's not just about the level. The fluid condition matters even more. Good fluid should be bright red or pink and translucent. If it's dark brown, black, or smells burnt, you have a problem. If it has metal shavings in it, you have a serious problem. This dirty, gritty fluid acts like liquid sandpaper, grinding away at the inside of your transmission. It causes slipping, overheating, and eventual failure. If the fluid looks foamy or milky, that's also a red flag. It might mean someone overfilled it, which can cause its own set of pressure issues and leaks. Or, as we'll see later, it could mean water has gotten in, which is a death sentence. Low fluid is just as bad, causing slipping, serious wear, and overheating. Don't skip this. Find out your car's service interval for transmission fluid and stick to it. Number 12. Coasting on neutral while driving downhill. This is an old, persistent myth. People think that by shifting into neutral and coasting down a long hill, they're saving gas. This is 100% false in any modern car, and it's incredibly dangerous. Let's bust the fuel myth first. In newer cars, when you are in gear and you take your foot off the gas, like when you're going downhill, the engine's computer automatically cuts off the fuel supply to the injectors. The wheels are turning the engine, not the other way around. You are using in that moment zero fuel. The moment you shift into neutral, the engine disconnects from the wheels and must use fuel to keep itself idling. So coasting in neutral literally wastes gas. But more importantly, coasting in neutral puts your safety at serious risk. In some states, it's actually illegal. When the car is in neutral, you have no control over your speed other than the brakes. You lose all engine braking, which is the natural slowing down effect of the engine being in gear. This means you are relying 100% on your brakes to manage your speed down a long, steep hill. This will overheat your brakes, leading to that brake fade or total failure we talked about earlier. Furthermore, you lose the ability to accelerate. If an emergency happens, if a deer jumps out or another car swerves into your lane, you have no power to speed up and get out of the way. You're just a runaway train. Instead of coasting, you should downshift manually using the 2 or L, a low gears, or use the manual shift paddles if you have them. This is called engine braking, which is different from the mistake we'll talk about later. This keeps you in control, maintains a safe speed, and saves your brakes. Shifting back into drive from neutral while you're moving also puts extra strain on your drivetrain. It can be a jerky, jolting re-engagement. This is just one of many fuel myths that could be costing you more than you think. Number 11. Idling the car in drive for too long. We're all guilty of this. You're in a long drive-through line or you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic that just isn't moving. You're sitting there put on the brake with the car in drive. While this won't directly or instantly damage the drivetrain, idling for long periods does put unnecessary strain on the engine and other components. When your car idles, the engine is still running. The cylinders are firing, the alternator is spinning, the water pump is working, and the belts are turning. This might seem harmless, but over time it adds wear and tear without adding a single mile to the odometer. This is engine on time that doesn't show up in the car's mileage. Ever heard car ads brag about highway miles? There's a very good reason for that. Highway driving at a steady speed is the easiest life for an engine. It's at its most efficient operating temperature. City driving with all the stopping and idling is the hardest. When you let your car idle and drive for 30 or 40 minutes, that's like a long, hard city commute with constant stop-and-go traffic. But it's not just wear and tear. Let's talk about fuel efficiency. Idling gives you 0 m per gallon. It's the worst possible fuel economy. It also doesn't let your engine work at its best. It can lead to incomplete combustion, which can cause carbon buildup on the valves and foul your spark plugs. That means higher fuel consumption even when you're driving. Even worse, unburnt fuel can sometimes wash past the piston rings and mix with your engine oil, diluting it and making it less effective. This forces you into more frequent and costly oil changes. If you're going to be waiting for more than a minute or two, it's better to switch the transmission to park or just turn off the engine entirely. Number 10. Turning off the engine immediately after a hard drive. This one is especially important for cars with turbochargers, but it applies to all cars. Let's say you've just been driving hard, maybe climbing a long, steep mountain pass, or you were just having some spirited fun on a back road. Your engine and all its components are incredibly hot. When you pull into your driveway and immediately turn off the key, you stop the flow of two critical fluids, oil and coolant. These systems are what cool the engine down. But when they stop circulating too early, all that heat gets trapped inside the engine. This is called hot soak. This trapped heat can make parts overheat after the engine is off. It can cook the oil, turning it into a thick black sludge, especially in the tight passages of a turbocharger. It can warp metal components and put stress on gaskets and seals. In manual cars, you naturally cool things down by downshifting as you slow, but automatics work differently. They tend to keep power running longer, meaning your engine stays hotter when you finally stop. Modern cars are built to handle heat better than older ones. But if your car has a lot of miles on it, things like cracked exhaust manifolds can become a real issue from all that heat stress. If you are driving a turbocharged car, this is critical. A turbocharger spins at incredibly high speeds, sometimes over 150,000 RPM. It gets red hot. It's cooled and lubricated by your engine's oil. Shutting the engine off too soon cuts that oil flow. The oil sitting in the hot turbo bearings gets cooked or burned, turning into hard carbon deposits that will destroy the turbo. So what's the solution? Just let it cool down. The last 1 or 2 miles of your drive gently. Let the airflow cool things down. When you park, especially after a hard drive, just let the car idle for 30 seconds to a minute. This turbo timer effect lets the oil and coolant circulate, pulling that damaging heat away from the critical components before you shut it down. Number 9. Frequent engine cycling. This is the opposite problem of idling too long. This is turning your engine on and off too often. While shutting it off to save fuel during a long wait is smart, constant, frequent cycling can cause its own kind of unnecessary wear. Every single time you start the engine, critical components work harder. The starter motor, a powerful electric motor, has to spin the entire engine. The battery takes a big hit of current. And as we discussed, those first few seconds of startup before the oil pressure is fully built are the hardest on the engine's internal parts. Parts that get used more wear out faster. A starter motor is only designed for so many starts in its lifetime. You need to know when it actually makes sense to turn off the engine. If you're at a quick stoplight, keep it running. But if you're stuck at a railroad crossing or in a complete standstill traffic jam for several minutes, shutting it off can help reduce wear and save fuel. The latest car versions now come with auto start-stop features, which automatically shut down the engine when you stop. This proves that occasional shutdowns aren't harmful and can improve fuel efficiency. However, these systems are designed for it. They often have more robust starters and batteries to handle the extra cycles. Doing it manually too often, like shutting it off at every single red light, might create other issues. Frequent restarts can, in some older cars, flood the engine. It puts a lot of strain on the battery, potentially shortening its life. And the fuel save might not be worth the extra effort or the potential cost of a new starter motor. Restarting the engine uses a small burst of fuel too. So in most cases, idling for a short time, like a minute or two, is perfectly fine and likely better than a constant stop-start cycle. Number 8. Resting your hand on the shifter lever. This is a bad habit that a lot of people have. It might seem comfortable, just a natural place to rest your hand, but trust me, it's a bad idea. That slight but constant pressure day after day can wear down your car's components. Now, the source video says it wears down the shift fork and synchronizer. This is 100% true for a manual transmission. In a manual, the shifter is a direct mechanical link to the gearbox. In an automatic, it's a bit different, but the principle of unnecessary wear still applies. In many automatic cars, especially older ones, the shifter isn't just an electronic switch. It's connected to the transmission via a Morse cable or a mechanical linkage. Resting your hand on the shifter puts constant light pressure on these linkages. The weight of your hand combined with the constant vibrations from the engine and gearbox can add stress. Over many years, this can wear out the bushings and stretch the cable. This makes the shifter feel loose, sloppy, and unresponsive. In many new cars, the shifter is shift by wire. It's just an electronic switch like a mouse for your computer. Resting your hand on it probably won't do any mechanical damage. However, it's still a bad habit for two crucial reasons. First, safety and control. You should be driving with both hands on the wheel whenever possible or using the designated armrest. This gives you maximum control in an emergency. Second, accidental shifting. I've seen it happen. Someone rests their hand on the shifter, hits a pothole, and their arm jerks, knocking the car into neutral on the highway. Suddenly, you have no power. Or worse, they accidentally hit the manual mode button and lock the car in a low gear. It's just not worth it. Keep both hands on the wheel. Number 7. Driving through deep waters. This is a fast track to total catastrophic trouble. Your Geely sedan or SUV is not a submarine, and it's not a rugged off-roader. Driving through deep standing water is a gamble where you can lose the entire car. Here's why. Your car's transmission is not perfectly sealed. It has vents or breathers, which are designed to release pressure that builds up as the transmission fluid gets hot. This works perfectly fine in the air, but in many regular cars, these vents are positioned low, right on the transmission itself. When you drive through deep water, that water can and will get sucked into the transmission through those vents, and that's when the trouble begins. When water mixes with transmission fluid, it turns into a thick, milky, pinkish-gray mess. This contaminated fluid is useless. It doesn't lubricate and it doesn't cool, but it gets worse. This watery mess breaks down the glue that holds the friction material on your clutch packs together. Once that happens, your clutch plates will literally disintegrate. The worst part, the damage can happen in just a few hours. You might make it through the water, park your car, and think you're fine. By the next morning, the damage is done. Think draining the fluid will fix it? You're wrong. Once water gets inside, the transmission will start slipping, and soon it will completely fail. Fixing it isn't cheap. In almost all cases, a full replacement is the only answer, and that's just the transmission. We haven't even talked about the engine. Your engine's air intake is also low, often behind the grill. If you suck water into the engine, it's called hydrolock. Water cannot be compressed. The pistons will try to compress it, and the engine will instantly destroy itself. Connecting rods will snap and blocks will crack. That is a $10,000 mistake. Remember, oil and water don't mix. It's not just a saying, it's a very costly reality. Avoid deep water at all costs. Number 6. Putting the car in park without pulling the handbrake. This is a very common, very lazy habit. You pull into a parking spot, you shift to park, you turn the car off, and you get out. You just put the entire weight of your car onto that tiny parking pile we talked about earlier. The parking pile inside your transmission is designed to hold the car in place, but it is not as strong as the handbrake or parking brake. Relying on it alone, especially on a hill or even a slight uneven incline, can lead to serious trouble. When you park on an incline or even in a very windy area, your car's weight, thousands of pounds, is all resting on that one small metal pin. With time, this constant strain can wear the pod down or even cause it to fail. And if that happens, your car could start moving. The handbrake is your secondary and in many ways primary layer of protection. It bypasses the transmission completely and locks the wheels. usually the rear ones. Using the handbrake takes all the weight and stress off the transmission and puts it onto the brake system, which is designed to hold it. Even if you're parked on perfectly flat ground, using the handbrake is a smart habit. It's a simple step that keeps the paw from being under constant load and can save you from costly repairs down the road. Skipping the handbrake once or twice might not seem like a big deal, but the stress adds up over time. Engine mounts and bushings can weaken from the car, settling onto the paw, and the locking pin itself can eventually fail. To park safely, here is the correct sequence. Come to a complete stop with your foot on the main brake pedal. While your foot is still on the brake, shift the car into park. Then pull the handbrake. Now you can let go of the brake pedal. When you're ready to drive, you do the reverse. Foot on the brake, start the car, shift into gear, then release the handbrake. Number 5. Ignoring dashboard warning lights. This one is just baffling to me. The source says 6 out of 10 drivers ignore dashboard warning lights until their car breaks down. Those little lights are not decorations. They are not suggestions. They are your car's only way of talking to you. They are early warnings that something is wrong. Ignoring them can and will lead to expensive damage or worse, a breakdown in the middle of nowhere. Manual car drivers tend to react faster, as the source notes. Why? Because they are by nature more engaged with the car. They know their cars need more hands-on attention. But automatic drivers often get complacent. They take those warning lights for granted, thinking, oh, it's probably just a sensor, until it's far too late. If a warning light comes on, don't panic. Stay calm and pull over to a safe spot. Take a moment to check your car's manual. Every manual has a section that tells you exactly what each light means and how serious it is. Now, some lights need your immediate pullover right now attention. A red warning light means serious trouble. Stop the car. This is for things like brake system failure, the engine overheating, the temperature gauge, or low oil pressure, the little oil can. Ignoring these for even a minute can destroy your engine. An amber or yellow light usually isn't as urgent, but it still needs attention. This is often the check engine light or for things like tire pressure or traction control. This means get this checked out soon. Ignoring a check engine light for a small sensor problem can cause a chain reaction leading to a much bigger, more expensive problem like a ruined catalytic converter. Number 4. Missing a gear when shifting. In a fully automatic car, shifting gears is handled by the vehicle itself, but many automatics now have a manual or sport mode where you can shift gears yourself, either with the lever or with paddles. Sometimes you'll also need to shift manually, like moving from drive to reverse or neutral. The key is to follow the right sequence and never force or skip gears. Doing it wrong can put unnecessary strain on your transmission. When using the gear selector, be smooth and deliberate. Forcing it or rushing through can wear down the linkages and the switches inside. But here's something to watch out for. As the source mentions, some drivers, out of old habits from a manual, try to skip a gear or they move the shifter too fast or miss the intended gear. Go in from drive past neutral and into reverse by mistake. This can throw off the transmission's computer and impact performance. Always shift carefully, 1 to 10 at a time to keep things running smoothly. The bottom line is to take it slow, shift in the right order, and if you're in full drive, trust your automatic to do what it was designed for. Your drive will be easy and effortless. Number 3. Tailgating and late braking. This is less a mechanical mistake and more of a dangerous driving habit that is made worse by an automatic transmission. Tailgating or following the car in front of you too closely dramatically reduces your reaction time and massively increases your risk of a collision. In an automatic car, it can be even trickier. Automatic transmissions, especially smooth modern ones, can mask the sensation of speed. It's easy to misjudge your stopping distance. That's why keeping a safe 3/2 following distance is so important. It gives you enough time to react and critically to brake smoothly. And that brings us to late braking. This is the bad habit of staying on the throttle or the gas pedal right up to the moment you have to slam on the brake for a stoplight or a turn. This is terrible for your car and your safety. Instead, scan the road ahead. See that red light half a mile away? Figure out where you need to ease off the gas. Letting off the throttle early allows your vehicle to slow down naturally, using the engine's compression and air resistance. Experienced drivers will tell you this isn't just a smart safety move. It's also a fantastic way to save fuel and, most importantly, save your brakes. In manual cars, taking your foot off the gas while shifting gears naturally slows the vehicle. But automatics, as the source points out, work differently. They are designed to coast more to keep the power going for a smoother ride. This means you have to be more conscious and calculated with your acceleration and braking. It's all about balance. With only the gas and brake to work with, knowing when to let off the throttle can make all the difference. Number 2, engine braking. This is a controversial one, and the source video's advice is a bit confusing. It lists engine braking as a mistake, but this needs clarification. What the source means by engine braking in this context is the improper use of it, constantly and aggressively downshifting from drive to a lower gear like 2 or L to slow the car down in normal everyday driving. This might sound like a smart way to save your brakes, but it's not a good idea. Automatic transmissions are built to shift smoothly up and down on their own. Forcing them into lower gears at high speeds to slow down can put unnecessary strain on the system. The internal clutch packs and bands are not designed to handle those constant high RPM deceleration forces. Over time, it can lead to overheating, increased friction, and premature failure. It's better to just use your brakes. Brake pads are cheap. Transmissions are not. However, there is a correct time to use engine braking. As we discussed in the coasting and neutral point, when you are descending a long, steep hill. This is exactly what those lower gears L2 or your manual mode paddles are for. Using them here will save your brakes from overheating and failing. So the rule is this: don't use engine braking to slow down for a stoplight. Do use engine braking to maintain a safe, controlled speed down a long, steep mountain pass. Number 1, skipping regular maintenance schedule. This is the number 1 mistake, the big one. Life gets busy and it is so easy to ignore those routine checks, to put off that oil change for just one more week. But here is the truth from a mechanic. What you skip today will come back to haunt you with expensive repairs and serious safety risks down the road. Today's automatic cars can go longer between oil changes, sometimes up to 7,500 meters or more. But just because they can doesn't always mean they should. Regular oil changes keep the engine lubricated, clean, and running smoothly. Skipping them or stretching them out can lead to sludge buildup, poor performance, and eventually total engine failure. And engine repairs, they do not come cheap. Ignoring maintenance also hurts your fuel efficiency. Old, dirty oil, clogged air filters, and worn-out spark plugs make your engine work much harder for every mile. This means more fuel consumption and more trips to the gas station. And it's not just about the engine. Neglecting things like worn-out tires, old brake pads, or cracked windshield wipers can put your safety at risk. These small parts are what keep you in control on the road. Ignoring them can lead to dangerous, life-threatening situations. Thinking of selling your car one day? A poorly maintained vehicle with no service history loses its value fast. And with automatic cars taking over the roads, buyers have options. If you want to get a good deal, your car had better be in top shape with records to prove it, or you'll be stuck with it. You've just unlocked the 19 things you should never do in an automatic car. But if you're also rocking a manual transmission, don't think you're off the hook.